Well, Mark, you had a disrupted week in training last week, and well, this week's starting in a similar vein.
Yeah, third storm in a row, I think. I mean, God, people have had it worse than us. I'm sure you look around the country, it's terrible. So there's a few trees come down at the training ground. Yesterday's storm has not helped the pitches at all. So if we can find a space to train on this morning, then that'll be helpful. But it's probably windier this morning than it was on Friday morning. Obviously, it picked up as Friday went on, but it's blowing a gale at the minute. So yeah, it'll be a challenging one to get anything out on the grass this morning. Having said that, the players don't really need too much today. They just need to get themselves moving again. We'll probably have to do all our tactical work inside on the video and on the tactics board. But we're fairly adaptable, and we've always dealt with whatever it is. So yeah, we'll be okay. We'll get the most out of the day and make sure we're ready for tomorrow, and hope that the conditions settle down a little bit.
Yeah, so potentially another evening with difficult conditions, but a very different game in the sense of the opposition. We know what Plymouth are all about, and quite different to what you've been facing over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think the next two games throw up, but it's interesting how the fixtures fall sometimes. We seem to have played a batch of teams that have similar styles, and now we play a couple of possession-based teams that look like they've got 13 players on the pitch sometimes because of how well they move the ball and how big they make the pitch. They're in incredible form. Shuey's done a brilliant job since he's taken over from Ryan Lowe, since he moved on to Preston, and he's continued the good progress that they had. I mean, we firsthand saw how difficult the game was when we went there earlier in the season with the 1-1 draw, and I think we know what to expect, but whether we can control and contain that and then cause our own problems will be the real key for us. We were excellent in the first half when we went there with the ball and carried a real threat. And then in the second half, we got pinned back and made to defend for long periods. So I think the game will probably have a bit of everything. In some respects, it will be a very different game. And we know that they have periods of control of the game and dominate the ball against most teams. But what that allows you to do is have your own spells of control as well. Whereas a lot of the games we've been playing recently are quite hectic. Hopefully this one's a little bit more controlled and we're able to contain them, but also able to dominate spells ourselves.
So Steve Schumacher, I guess, as we'd all expect, really very much a continuity candidate. They have that same identity.
Yeah, I mean, they worked together for quite a long time. Obviously, we met previously when we played against Bury team, and then this Plymouth team have done ever so well. I'm doing my pro license with Stephen at the moment, so know him quite well. So he's done a brilliant job. They've had an excellent start to 2022, similar to us. They had the Chelsea game where we had the Newcastle game. So we've had some similarities along the way. I think when you look at the 9 or 10 game form table for the new year, we're both going very well. So should be a good game. Looking forward to it, albeit our team will be very different from the team that played them when we played there earlier in the season. I think back to that game and Jack Iredale, Greg Taylor, Lloyd Jones, Liam O'Neill, Shiloh Tracy, Joe Ironside all started that game. So it just shows how well we're doing at the moment when there's such fundamental players that are missing from our team.
Yeah, and it underlines how you have to be ready for everything. There's no point in having a plan A and being absolutely married to it, because things will happen and change so quickly.
Yeah, and I think you have a plan in terms of what you want your team to look like. You know that it can change with 1 or 2 players, but in the end, Plan A is a really strong plan. If whoever plays in it, it still looks like Plan A, and that's I think what's done well for us. You know, it's pretty much looked like us throughout the whole time, and you have different qualities in there and similarities as well. But I'm so pleased with how the lads have approached this so far. I think we've got walking in this morning, so we have no idea yet over our team. We've got a lot of players to check on this morning, but I think the likelihood is we're going to be players missing from Saturday's game ahead of tomorrow. So we'll have to deal with that again and put a team out that can compete and hope that we get some back quickly.
Yeah, with all of that in mind and overcoming adversity, presumably Plymouth away, one of the most satisfying performances of the season, really, to have gone to a place like Plymouth, and the injury to Greg Taylor, big setback, not least to lose him, but psychologically for all of the players out on the pitch, and Jack having to change position. But as you say, it was one of those games where you just looked like yourself and you managed to grow in the match all the same.
Yeah, it was a really interesting early season game for us. It was the biggest atmosphere we'd played in, the biggest crowd we played in front of, and we felt that from the home fans when they got the momentum. It was a good game for us to learn from. It was a game where afterwards we'd obviously lost Greg. We'd had other players that had picked up knocks and things throughout the game. We had to really hang on and defend our goal late stages of the game and take something from the game. I mean, they should have had a player sent off after 4 minutes who retrospectively missed the next 3 games. So who knows what the game would have looked like. But it turned into the game it did, and we made sure that we got something out of it. And it was the first time we'd travelled a long distance on the day. We changed everything that day. We travelled on the day of the game. We stayed up after the game and enjoyed ourselves in the bar afterwards. And it was a really good couple of days for us, and a brilliant point in the end.
Now, you mentioned with the team news all a bit up in the air at the moment, but you've had Jack Lancaster and Ben Warman on the bench for a couple of games. Is this potentially a match that could suit them to come back in?
But possibly, yeah. I mean, by sort of, I guess by definition, if you're going to have a few out, then a few are going to come in, and the players that come in need to come in and grab the opportunity and show the hunger to go and play in the game. And I'm sure that whoever comes into the team will do that, because we've always done that, and we've always had that from players. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how we approach the challenges of the next fortnight, where we've got 4 tough games back to back, and seeing how we come through that and see what we set ourselves up for going into the last 10 games. But I think when you look at the last 9 games, to have, I think, won 4, drawn 3, is pretty exceptional for us with the challenges that we've faced so far. So we're in a really good spot, and I'm really proud of how the players are approaching the challenges so far, and no doubt they'll do the same for the next couple of weeks.
Is it your suspicion at this stage that you probably will have to make at least one enforced change?
Yeah, we might have to make more than that. There'll definitely be changes to the team tomorrow, yeah.
And with Jack Lancaster, I know he's had a disrupted season for a couple of different reasons, but do you see him building that momentum even though he hasn't started that many games of late? Is he in a good place?
I think his momentum's been stop-start. I mean, partly through lots of factors that were out of control or through injury and all bits and pieces like that, and then partly because I haven't put him in the team enough for him to get that rhythm. So he started at Fleetwood and did well, and then for different reasons he hasn't played in certain teams after that. The Rotherham game in the Papa John's, he was suspended for, which was ridiculous, really. But that would have been another game for him to go consecutive Tuesdays and put games together. But if injuries come up, that might give him that run of games that he really needs. And if his performance levels fine, it might give him that run of games that he really needs. And we've said all along, there's a really talented player there. And when he gets a run of games and finds that rhythm and confidence, and is then able to work at the intensity we need him to consistently, he'll be a really good player for us. So I think it's just a matter of time for that. I don't think we'll ever see the best of him this season until next year when he's had a full pre-season, but there's still an opportunity for him to finish the season really strongly.
Cool, that's great for me.
Morning, Mark. Just a quick one. When you said about the plan A earlier on, is that plan A down to the coaching staff, or is it down to the players being able to adjust to it?
Plan A is my plan, really. How I want this team to look and how I want this team to play, and then players have to buy into that, and they certainly have done. And then there's lots of sort of minutiae in that, probably, and that chops and changes all the time. Like we're fairly happy to change system. We're fairly happy to adapt certain bits of our style or give up the ball in some games or want to be more dominant in other games. But the fundamental principles of our team are what they are, and I think that everyone can have their own idea of what that is, or their own words for what that looks like. We've got our own sort of vocabulary that will explain what we think we are. But yeah, we don't sort of want to go away from that. And then the key is signing players that can do it, which is fundamentally what we've done throughout the last couple of years. We've made sure we've got the right players to play the way we want to play, and we made some good progress. So for us now, we have to try and take that forward to the next level.
So it's a collective credit, not you as a coaching staff or the set of players being able to adjust to it. It's all of you buying into it.
No one's ever won anything on their own, for sure. I mean, if ever there's a club that shows that, it's us time and time again. I think the togetherness of the club, the understanding and the unity that we've got is really evident, really clear, whoever plays across the whole club. So certainly it's down to everybody, because you can have an idea, but it only comes off if people actually want to do it and buy into it.
And when you say about, with Stephen Schumacher, and Dave Artell's on the pro license as well with you all, isn't he? So when you come up against the coach you're working closely with in that regards, is that easier or harder? As in, do you get more insight into what to expect?
No, I don't think so. Maybe you have more of a knowledge of their personality, but I don't think it gives too much more away. I mean, it's interesting. You can speak to people in football quite regularly, and then if you've got them coming up in a week or 10 days' time, you pretty much don't speak to each other because no one wants to give anyone any information. So I don't think it makes too much of a difference into our understanding of the games. I think when we go on these courses together and we get into some incredible conversations, very rarely is it about the specifics of our own teams. It's a wider topic than that. So it's brilliant that the network that you build is really important, and there's quite a lot of League One people on the course. So it's been really beneficial. We graduate in June this year, so currently working through a project which is seeing me speak to some outstanding people. It's a project I'm doing on culture in clubs and maintaining momentum. You have to study football, you have to study a sport outside of football, and you have to study something that's non-football and draw your similarities from there. So I'm speaking to a number of managers that have had long time tenures in their clubs and how they've dealt with those challenges. I've spoken to Sir David Brailsford around how he's implemented culture and things in cycling. I've spoken to politics is of interest to me. So I met Alistair Campbell last week, which was a really interesting conversation around leadership and how the challenges of politics and what similarities there are in sport. So yeah, that's something that I'm working hard on in the background over the next few months to put together, and hopefully with Stephen, with Dave, with Danny and Nikki Cowley, there's lots of us on the course. We're graduating in June once we've presented our findings from our independent study.
Right, that's great. Thanks, Matt. Cheers.
Well, just to pick up on that point, based on what you're studying at the minute, does that mean you're here for the long term?
Ask the owner. Things change. Things change very, very quickly. So if we keep doing all right, I'm sure people will want me to stay. If we don't, they'll change in a flash and probably forget everything that we have done. That's the way it works. So we're not naive enough to know that. So we crack on and keep trying to get better and hope it lasts.
If the owner's happy, are you happy to stay for the long term?
Come on, Stephen, you know me. Bleed amber and black, don't I? I'm not going to Peterborough, if that's what you're asking.
That's not what I'm asking, don't worry about that. Just quickly on Plymouth as well, did you expect them to be up there at the start of the season, or do you just think that's down to the good work that they've done this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think the league is so competitive and there's so many top teams in it that you would expect to be up there, but everybody can't be, you know. They wouldn't be the top spenders, and they're doing incredibly well. I mean, they've built a team that I think over a few years has got stronger. The identity of the teams remained the same and just improved through consistency. So I think they've gone about it in a really good way. That promotion from within with the manager has allowed for that continuity. So it doesn't surprise me how well they're doing. I think they're an exceptional team playing really, really well. The results haven't surprised me, but the positions are so up for grabs even now. I mean, they'd say that themselves. It can chop and change in an instant. You know, they dropped a few places. Now they're right back in it again. And if they can keep putting results together, they've got a really good shout of being one of those teams in the top places come the end of the season.
Given where your side are at this stage of the season, are draws good results at this stage, or are you looking to put together wins?
I'll disagree with anyone that says draws aren't good results at any time. Depends how many games you lose. So if it's a draw instead of a defeat, we're in, you know, we lost 11 games so far out of 34. That's pretty good going, and our goal difference is good in comparison. We want to really try and work to finish in a positive goal difference this season. That's got to be one of many challenges that we've got left. But there'll be a lot of teams that have swapped places with us, and a lot of the points that we've picked up have been very, very valuable. So for me, it's really hard to win games. It's really hard to try and not be beaten, and to be a competitive team that can go the distance with people is a real source of pride for us. So we're really pleased with the results that we've got. When you look at draws, one or two of them you think might have gone our favour and got the win, but then by the other side it may have gone the other way. So yeah, you take your points willingly in this league and keep working towards your total that we're trying to get to.
And just quickly, is it too soon for Shiloh and Lloyd for tomorrow?
Yeah, and this weather's not really helping us, to be honest, because they're not able to put together consecutive days of training at the minute. So we'll keep an eye on them. We hope they can get some good work done this week, but hopefully we're not too far away with them as long as they keep making the progress they are.
Thank you.